Gravity is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
All right, all you weirdos, how you guys doing? Welcome to Saturday night. It's the Paranormal Portal, so I hope you guys are doing great. Thank you all for joining me here and being a part of the journey on the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and have a full 2 hours of fun sitting on deck waiting for you. So I hope you guys are all ready for that, because I know I am. I like to dive into all this weirdness, and as a side note, that's really cool. I've often wondered, what do people, everybody seems to have a tagline for people that are enthusiastic about a show, but it looks like you guys have all named yourselves because I always thought, well, what would it be? Portalians, Portalites, what, and the chat room on YouTube has definitely resigned themselves to calling each other weirdos. So I guess that's the followers of the portal are weirdos. So all you weirdos out there, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here with me and tagging along for the journey. As always, the phone lines will be open. If you want to call in, please wait till after the first break, if you would, please, because I got to do the news after all. I mean, can't have phone calls during the news. So call in after the break if you want to call in or thereafter. But the number for the show is 720-923-0500. So those are the numbers to phone. And those of you on YouTube, if you look above my head here, right where I'm pointing, those tiny little numbers, those are the portal phone number. And yes, I know I have to make them bigger, but it's one of those things. Out of sight, out of mind until it's, oh, wait, that's something I'm supposed to do. You know how that goes. But anyway, at any rate, we got a great show lined up for you tonight. That's right out of the Wes Germer playbook right there. We got a great show lined up for you guys tonight. And we're going to be covering some sea monsters. We're going to cover some UFO stuff and some Bigfoot stuff a little bit. And then some little more black-eyed kids stuff. So there's a full buffet of oddness ahead of you. So I hope you guys are all set for that. But I guess I don't really have anything else to add right off the bat here. So I guess we're all set, and we should probably check out the news. Now, there's one article coming up in the news that is a link to Facebook, and I will show the images that are relatable there, and I will tag, or I will give a link in the chat room for those of you that want to check it out as well. But it's something that washed up on the shores somewhere, and it's really a creepy looking thing. So I will put those images and make those available in the chats. So there's two places to chat if you are listening to the Paranormal Portal. One of them is to go to tfrlive.com/chat. Create a username and password, and you can get into there. And it's a little quieter chat experience, but wonderful people in there. They've been with us for a long time. And then there's another way, and that's to go to the YouTube channel where we are simulcasting live, in case you're not already watching it. And that is youtube.com/paranormal portal, and there's a chat room there. In either case, I'll post the links there if you want to check it out, but that's just a little forewarning that there is something to see. And I know it doesn't translate as well to, the audio-only experiencers, so I'm giving you a fair warning that if you are interested in checking it out, to check out those two locations, because that's where I will put the link. But anyway, let's get to the news. Oh, I got to get to the right side. All right, folks, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk, and this is me. It's still me. That still kind of cracks me up. I don't know why. I'm easily amused, and I'm not a real complicated person. So simple things amuse me quite often. But anyway, which includes my own sense of humor. I don't know what the hell that means. But anyway, we got some great articles coming up for you here. Let's get to the first one, and this one is, it's just exciting. It's more of a kind of on the science horizons, and I hope it's not too technical. We'll check out a little bit of this, but this is kind of exciting news. This is apparently they sent a probe out to get some samples, and it's on its way back. So this is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com from their news section, and this is Osiris Rex heads home from Bennu samples. From Bennu with Bennu samples. Good God. Welcome to the show where I learned to read. NASA's OSIRIS-REx spacecraft is now on its way back to Earth with samples collected from the asteroid Bennu. Measuring approximately 500 meters in diameter, Bennu has long been of interest to scientists because of its potential to teach us more about the earliest days of the solar system. It's also significant due to its potential to collide with the Earth at some point in the future. However, recent estimates have generally played down the likelihood that this will happen. Back in September 2016, NASA sent a spacecraft, OSIRIS-REx, to rendezvous with Bennu. And after arriving there in 2018, it spent over 2 years investigating the asteroid and collecting samples. Now, having completed its task, the spacecraft has turned back towards Earth and is heading for home. Its precious cargo will be NASA's largest haul of off-world material since the astronauts return with samples from the moon during the Apollo program. If all goes well, the spacecraft will reach Earth in September 2023. I've been working on getting a sample back from an asteroid since my daughter was in diapers, and now she's graduating from high school, so it's been a long journey, said NASA's project scientist Jason Dworkin. And that's really cool. I think that's exciting stuff. I've often thought that, when it comes to potential ability to collect materials, that mining asteroids and things just seems like a no-brainer. Like that'll be like the next thing that'll happen, and this is probably the very earliest steps of that happening. But wow, how about that? Would you sign up for a job going to mine asteroids? The other thing that I think is curious is because it's not such a huge asteroid, and I don't know how it's flying through space, and I know there's no drag and stuff that we usually attribute with things flying through space, because there's no air and there's none of that material that would create a drag. But if it has any spin at all, how can something stay on it to collect samples? I'm just curious about that, but I really know nothing about the program, so I guess I have a lot more questions than answers, but I think that's exciting. It'll be interesting to see what comes back from Bennu, or what came back from Bennu, and hopefully it's not alive and takes over the Earth. So that's just a little on the scientific front. I think that stuff is exciting. Here's a weird one. I don't know how this happened, but what a weird situation this is. And this comes from unexplained-mysteries.com as well, and it's Australian woman wakes up with Irish accent. A woman from Australia who underwent tonsil surgery woke up to find that her accent had completely changed. And Guy McKeon, whose accent had been distinctly Australian up until very recently, developed an Irish twang after undergoing a routine procedure that is now unable to reclaim her original voice. I woke up with an Irish accent the day before and thought I was going to wake up from this weird dream, she said. But no, my Aussie accent's gone. According to doctors, she is suffering from what is known as foreign accent syndrome. God, they must have stayed up all night thinking of that name. What should we call it? Let's just call it foreign accent syndrome. Good one. An extremely rare condition that has only been documented around 100 times. McGuyan, who's never been to Ireland, initially found that while she sometimes woke up with her original accent, it would very quickly change back to Irish within the space of a few minutes. I woke up this morning and I was speaking with my Aussie accent, and I called one of my friends and confirmed that my Aussie accent was back, she said. But during the phone call, within 5 to 10 minutes, she could see the deterioration of my accent back to Irish. I'm not even trying. I'm completely freaked out. Original accents has since disappeared entirely. Yeah, I know I need medical attention and to see doctors, but it's a struggle to even find the right person to look into me and tell me what's wrong and get me back to my old self. That's very weird. There is a video that's also attached to that, and I guess we can put a link in there so that you guys understand what that means. But, that's very strange, and it makes you wonder, is that, I don't know, is there some part of our brains that's like genetically encoded with accents from around the world, or how the hell would that happen? Is it just something she was exposed to a bunch, but she's never been to Ireland? Does she know someone with an accent like that? I don't know. That's really, really weird. But let me put this into the TFR chat, and then I'll put it in the YouTube chat as well, so that people can check that out. It's not really important, but it is kind of interesting. How you doing, Bam? Good to see you, brother. Thank you. Thanks for being here. And here, I'll put it into the YouTube chat as well. So there's a couple of locations to check out. The videos at the very end of that little article. It's a very little article, so it won't take you long to find it. But it's very interesting all the same. Now, here's the one that I kind of was foreshadowing, talking about something washing up on the shore. This is, there's no real way to say how big this is. I didn't see it mentioned in the article, but I'll copy the links. Actually, I'll copy it now since I'm already doing it anyway. Let's do this quickly so we can go into the story, but you can see the topic of the discussion, and it's really creepy. Let's see, where's TFR's here? I hope this is right. But it's actually a Facebook page. So if you don't have Facebook, that probably, I don't know. I think it should still work anyway. But let's see, where the hell did the article go now? I minimized it all the way to gone. All right, there it is. I found it again, and this is from unexplained-mysteries.com, and it's monstrous deep-sea fish washes up on beach. So we'll go through the article first, and then there's a link in the article that had all these other pictures, so I did pull that up as well, and we'll go through that second. For those who are on YouTube, you probably don't need to hit that Facebook page at all, but it says blackfish. A blackfish with razor-sharp teeth was photographed after washing up on a beach in California last week. Look at that. Oof. That's a face only a mother could love. It says some of the most eerie and alien-looking creatures that live on our planet can only be found deep down in the darkest depths of the oceans, where very few people are likely to ever encounter them. On occasion, however, one of these animals can be found washed up along the shoreline. This particular specimen, which is known as a Pacific football fish, how the hell do they call that a football? It was recently found in Crystal Cove State Park, marine protected area in Laguna Beach. Typically found 3,000 feet beneath the surface, this monstrous-looking creature sports rows of deadly teeth and a mouth so large it could practically consume something the size of its own body. There are more than 200 species of anglerfish worldwide, And this particular fish is most likely the Pacific football fish, Crystal Cove State Park wrote on Facebook. Only females possess the long stalk on the head with bioluminescent tips, used as a lure to entice prey into the darkness of waters as deep as 3,000 feet. To see an actual anglerfish intact is very rare, and it's unknown how or why the fish ended up on the shore. Seeing this strange and fascinating fish is a testament to the diversity of marine life lurking below the water's surface. In California's MPA and as scientists continue to learn more about these deep-sea creatures, it's important to reflect on how much is still to be learned from our wonderful ocean. Well, oceans, I guess, would be something. But yeah, that's really, really creepy. And now let me get to the actual link of from Facebook so we can look into that. All right, let me close that. I'll pull this over, and you guys can have some other looks. There's other angles that are in the Facebook link, and that's why I'm including it. All right, so here's the images that they hosted on Facebook. Look at that. Is that just not the creepiest looking thing ever? Let me look at the screen and make sure I'm not. Yeah, you can see it. I just want to make sure my camera angle of me wasn't blocking the image in any way. So that's the first one, and that's a sideways look, and there's no real scale, so we don't know is it just the size of a football, or is this the size of a beach blanket? I don't know, but judging by the pan that it's in, I guess it's probably more likely the football size. But anyway, here's another one from when it was on the beach. Oops, getting stuff popping up here. That's really interesting. Just a creepy mouthful. Look at that. Oh God, that's horrifying. And then there's this one. And that was featured on the article as well. And I think, yeah, then they go into other pictures here. So that is just a pretty incredibly terrifying looking mouth. That's just terrifying. Wow. But there you have it, folks. That's the football fish. If you ever get one of those on your line, cut it. Cut your line now. That's definitely one you won't want to hold up for the photos. Ugh, good Lord. I mean, you couldn't even grab that thing by the mouth to hold it up for a photo. And look at, there's little spikes all over it. What the hell are these? They remind me of puffer fishes, you know. Ugh. And you know those got to be venomous for sure. Like everything with spikes like this, they just can't be good for you. So there you go. That's a football fish, which really kind of plays into the paranormal, because that thing sure as hell ain't normal. So there you have it for that one. I hope you guys enjoyed that little audio visual. And then we got let's see, another couple. No, one more. I think there's just one more here. And now there's all kinds of questions people may have, and I'm sure this one probably has come up from time to time. I don't know why, and I don't know who would ask this question, but but when it comes up, you gotta address it. So here you go, folks. This is one of those questions that may or may not have answers. And this is from unexplained-mysteries.com. And it's, can humans breathe through their rectum? What the hell? Can humans breathe through their rectum? You heard it right, folks. It says a new study has revealed that pigs and other mammals can absorb oxygen through their rear ends. According to Takanori Takib in the Tokyo Medical and Dental University in Japan and colleagues, it may be possible to treat people with low blood oxygen levels by administering oxygen, not using a typical ventilator, but by giving them enemas containing a special oxygen-rich fluid. Ventilators, which administer oxygen to the lungs, certainly do the job, but they can have unintended side effects due to the potential damage the sensitive and delicate lung tissue. To get around this problem, Takibi turned to a very different orifice. The rectums of mammals happen to be coated with a thin membrane capable of absorbing certain chemicals into the bloodstream. By administering pigs with oxygen-rich perfluorocarbon, better known as the basis for the breathable fluid in the movie The Abyss, the creatures discovered that they were able to increase the animal's blood oxygen levels in a very similar way to using a ventilator. Such a treatment, Takibi argues, could be used in countless or in countries without access to ventilators. Oh my God. Ventilators are super expensive, and need a number of medical staff to manage, he said. This is just a simple enema. Whether there will ever be mass take-up of this idea, however, remains to be seen. Can you imagine how easily you could snorkel that way? Sorry, I don't know. I don't get paid for the humor. So there you have it, folks. Apparently you can absorb oxygen through your colon, and that may or may not be a good thing. I can tell you that based upon the things that come out, I don't think I want to be breathing them in. But anyway, that's it. That has been the Paranormal Portal news. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and are not too disturbed by the coverage. I just don't know. You just never know what you're going to get, folks. That's what I like to deliver on every episode of the Paranormal Portal, but there's just some things that I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. It's a bunch of strangeness, but that's just totally weirded out. Yeah, me too. I got to say. Snorkel that way. Hilarious. Thank you, Kyla. Kyle, thank you very much. I don't know. I can't. It's like sometimes there's advancements that are made and you got to wonder, is it a good idea? Really? Is that really a good idea? But maybe, I mean, if it saves somebody's life, then yeah, it's kind of worth it. But I think you'd want to clean that all out first. Really, really good. Give it a few test runs and then, put in the other stuff. But God, yeah. I mean, that's the pace of science, folks. I don't know what to tell you, but, no mouth to mouth for me, Herman says. Yeah, I hear you, Herman. I don't know. Is it what do you guys think of that? If you were in a bad place, would you welcome that treatment? I actually don't want to know, just for the record. It's just me being stupid, but it is interesting. I think the human body is incredibly complex and amazing and can do incredible things. And I would have never guessed that. How they got to that point, I don't know. I mean, how would you even aim your research towards something like that? That's the weird part. It's like somebody just sitting around going, hey, have you ever thought, could people breathe through their anus? And there you got, moccasins and Speedos. Barry. I tell you, I don't know. That's the portal, folks. We don't always know what's around the corner, but I always hope to bring you the best shows I know how to. I just want to make sure at the lead-in to not forget, because last night we got so busy I forgot. And I want to make sure you guys know that Paisley Wild follows the Paranormal Portal on Friday, Saturdays on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. So be after the shows, after our 2 hours, there'll be another 2 hours, and that's Paisley's show, and that's the spaces between. So I want to make sure to put that in there because I've been negligent lately, and I feel bad because she works really hard on her shows, and want to definitely give her all the traction we can because she does a nice job. And if you're not familiar with her show, it's a great look into esoteric, pagan practices and principles and different modalities such as crystals, energies, and practices and history and legend and lore, and she does such a wonderful job. So definitely check out Paisley's show following the portal. I love you too, Dan. Thank you. I appreciate that. Good to see all of you guys. Thank you all for coming in. There's 50 of you here. That's outstanding. And we got a lot more on deck. We're going to be diving into. Let me go through the list here of things we're going to be exploring. First up, when we come back from the break, we're going to go into some sea monster stories. And they're coming from a specific place. It's the Orkney Islands. And we're going to explore some tales coming out of there when we come back. And then we're going to dive into some UFO stories, including some Navy pilot feedback of things that they've been witnessing. And some of it might be repetitive because we've all heard about the Tic Tac craft that have been sighted off of the Pacific Ocean since 2007 was the first sighting and the first video, but 2014 was the other one. And certainly those pilots have been interviewed all over the place, and this might be somewhat redundant to that, but this is another that's talking about the Atlantic, and I think it's really interesting, and I don't recall hearing anything of this before. So as we're looking into or looking forward to what may be an incredible amount of disclosure from the U.S. government due to an addendum that was attached to the COVID relief bill, that all of the U.S. government agencies need to provide detailed records of what they've been studying and have had reported regarding the UFO phenomena, and that's really exciting. And maybe it'll be huge. Maybe it'll be a lot of disappointment, but more and more information is coming out from these official sources about things that they've seen, heard, and experienced. And the videos I think are phenomenal. You know, those videos are featured in our the first break, which will be coming up just momentarily. You'll see the Tic Tac videos, and those are released by the Pentagon. Those were released by the Pentagon, so they are official videos of anomalous vehicles that we can't explain, at least currently. So that'll be coming up, and we'll dive into a couple of abduction situations, which are pretty incredible. And then we're going to get into some Bigfoot stuff, and then we're going to get into some Brent Swanser article that's going to be amazing. And then we're going to get into some black-eyed kids encounters, and it's going to be a full ride. So I hope you guys are all set. Good to see you, Gergs. Great to see you, Gergs17. And thank you all for being here and being a part of the journey. Now, I'm not sure where the break's going to actually come in because the bumpers have been a little skewed. So I might end up just chatting away here for a few minutes and looking at the chat. So if you got something you want to say, please let me know. Because now's your chance. The bumper music. See, when you do the show and I'm on the network, I have a timer, and it tells me when it's time to go live and when it's time for the break, and I can watch the timer count down. But the bumpers have been a little bit skewed, so it's kind of been a bit awkward as we're coming up to breaks. At any rate, I also should point out that if any of you out there have experiences or stories, you can call in. The number for the show is 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500. If you're not much into talking and that kind of is intimidating to you, feel free to email me the stories if you want. I'd be happy to cover them as well. And you can do that by emailing paranormalportalradio@gmail.com. So those are some opportunities there for you to share your experiences. But I'd like it. I love it when you guys call in and we can have a discussion about it. But either way, I'd be happy to. Oh, looks like they're about right on time. All right, folks, we're going to break. We're going to be back in just a couple minutes. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Portal. But those of you on YouTube, check out the video and you'll see those Tic Tac crafts. So we'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's Chris Gio, founder of Truth Frequency Radio and host
And we're back, folks. We are back at it here on the Paranormal Portal. Thank you so much for sticking around as we dive into our second half hour of the show. Yeah. Special thank you to Taco. We appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. Donating $5. That's really cool. That really helps out a bunch. It's not expected. It's not, part of the deal, but it's sure appreciated. Thank you so much. That means the world to us. So, we are going to go into some sea monster stories, as I recall. I believe I promised you some sea monsters. And I did. And as such, we'll dive into it. This is an article coming from it's orkneyjar.com. And this isn't one I was familiar with prior to finding it, but it deals with these encounters at sea. I think that's really cool. So, let's see what it's got to say. And let me put it up here so we all can just read along. Okay, so this is Monsters of the Deep, Encounters at Sea. But although the Dead Sea serpents found on Orkney shore did not convince scientists, the islands have witnessed a number of other strange sea creature sightings over the years. It kind of starts up abruptly, and I noticed that before when I checked it out. It's like, how did we get there? And I'm not sure, but I'm just bringing it to you now. In most cases, the witnesses have been pragmatic professional men with no reason to fabricate yarns. In November 1905, for example, two men fishing off Serpents claimed that they had encountered a sea creature. They described the beast as having a body like a horse, covered with a scaly surface and spotted. And it says then in August 1919, 5 men fishing off brims in Hoy encountered a creature that led to the idea that a colony of similar beasts inhabited the undersea caves around the island. The boat carrying the men had just moved to the area of sea between the headlands and Brimsness and Torness when the long-necked monster was sighted. About 25 or 30 yards from the boat, its long neck was described as being as thick as an elephant's foreleg. And on top of the neck was a head that witnesses claimed was very much smaller in proportion. Speaking to the Orcadian newspaper at the time, one man exclaimed, "The neck, I should say, stuck about 5 to 6 feet, possibly more, out of the water. My friends thought the creature, would weigh 2 or 3 tons, some thinking 4 to 6. If the neck stretched, say, to 8 feet, the neck and body would be 18 to 20 feet long." I think that's interesting, and this is an argument that some people have raised regarding like sightings of Nessie, including the famous picture that basically looks like a finger sticking out of the water. They've claimed that it's possibly, and I have to admit, you at least have to entertain the idea, even though those that want to believe are going to believe, and those that don't want to believe are not going to believe. And there's not much you can do to sway that without, people having earth-shattering experiences. But something that may be a potential for some of the sightings of this weirdness is the idea of waterlogged wood, trees or portions of trees and maybe root balls that have washed off into the water from somewhere. And they become waterlogged, and they kind of sit in the water in a buoyant fashion. And perhaps the roots that broke off end up sticking up above the water, and it looks like what would appear to be a sea monster kind of thing, peeking up, having a look, and then going back down. And I got to tell you, having been raised along the shores of the Mississippi River in Minnesota, I can tell you that I saw a lot of things we call deadheads. Deadheads were basically those waterlogged pieces of wood. They wouldn't sit up in the water real high. They would just kind of sit just below the surface, and just maybe a little bit of them sticking up. And you had to watch for them, because as you're motoring along in your boat, you hit the engine on that, it'll knock off your propeller, or at least shear the pin, so that your engine's not going to make you go anywhere anymore, unless you can repair that. So there is some merit to that, and I think that needs to be considered, especially when you're speaking of a monster head that appears to be, a thick trunk with a even smaller head on top of it. That sounds suspiciously like what I would imagine a tree root to look like, but it could very well, be something else entirely. But I don't think you can dismiss those things out of hand. It says Mr. John R. Brown, an occasional lightkeeper on the Pentland Skerries, cited another massive sea creature in August of 1937. Mr. Brown told the Orkneyan newspaper, "I never believed much in monsters myself, but I saw something today, resembling nothing I had ever seen before. It was about noon when we were working down at the landing on the east end, that on chancing to look out to sea, I noticed the sea breaking white as if on a submerged rock. As I knew there were no rocks in that particular spot, I watched for a little, and presently a great object rose up out of the water, anything from 20 to 30 feet, and at an angle of 45 degrees. It was round-shaped, and therefore appeared to be a head on it, but as it was about a half a mile off the shore, I couldn't be sure. I called the attention of the other two men, but unfortunately before they got their eyes on the spot, it had disappeared again. Although both of them saw the foam it had made, we watched for a considerable time, but it never appeared again. Mr. Brown stressed his sighting was definitely not a killer whale. A few weeks prior to the Pentland Skerry sighting, workmen on the Fair Isle reported seeing an exceptionally large monster approach them, alarmed for the safety of a colleague who was in the water. The shocked men were about to issue a warning signal when the creature sheered off to a deeper water. It remained some distance from the shore, where the witness observed it swimming throughout the afternoon. Henry Stout of Leaguer Outertown, Stromness, visited the offices of the Orkneyan on Thursday, August 20th, 1936. About 2 p.m. on Thursday, August 13th, my son Henry, who is 30 years of age, and I were working in a hayfield overlooking the sea. The weather was bright and clear, and the sea was calm. Our attention became drawn to something that was happening less than a mile from the shore. Gradually, we made out an object of considerable size. The fastest motorboat in Stromness could not have kept up with the object while it was speeding straight ahead. While we watched, the object began to operate nearer the shore. 4 sail-like fins became visible. The foremost of the 4 I judged was about 5 feet high and 4 feet long at the surface of the sea. The other fins, each smaller than the other, were situated at intervals of 10 feet. We watched for half an hour and a few minutes, during which I hastened to Breckness for a spyglass, and we finally saw it dive beneath the surface altogether. For several days we spoke of this to no one. I hesitate to suggest that the object we saw may be a deep-sea monster, but am curious to know if anyone else happened to see what we saw. I am definite that the 4 fin-like objects were members of one unit. In that event, what we watched was something measuring at least 40 feet in length. And I'm sorry that we got no glimpse of a head or of any kind. I've lived at Lager Outertown for 40 years and am familiar with all aspects of the sea in that area, and I formerly engaged in cod fishing and am well acquainted with the habits of basking sharks, porpoises, flights of birds, and whales. This object we watched was none of these. In that same month, the compiler of the Orcadian's Nature Notes, James Marwick, reported an anonymous monster sighting from Rousney. It was in the sea about 200 yards off the shore, straight opposite. Nethermill, Surin, and 2 friends along with my brother saw it also. My brother, a friend and I, had a good look at, with the spyglass at it, and all we could see was a big head with long ears and a very long neck. We were not satisfied with that, so my brother and I launched a boat and went off to get a better look. Wow, that's brave. You got to be plenty brave to go out there where there's something swimming that you have no idea what it is. As we came nearer, it turned around, head on towards us for about 12 or 14 feet away. And this is what we saw. A big round head with small black eyes, big drooping ears, long tapered neck, and a very heavy-looking, thick body altogether, about 9 or 10 feet long, slate gray in color and smooth-skinned like a porpoise. But not all encounters were particularly pleasant. One angry-looking beast actually attacked the young witness. On a pleasant summer day sometime in the 1850s, a young boy, Alex Groundwater, was spending a lazy day by the shore. In Orfeer, the sea was flat, calm, and young Alec was sitting on a rock, gazing out over the Scapa flow, his legs dangling over the water. Then a short distance from Alec's rocky seat, the once still water began to boil, and a strange beast rose from the depths. The boy's descriptions of the beast was vague, but he described a broad, flat head with a wide mouth that contained some wicked-looking teeth or tusks. Like the Stormsay beast of 1808, the boy said the animal also had a long mane, similar to that of a horse. The creature glared fiercely at Alex with cold, baleful eyes. Before rearing up from the water and attempting to seize the lad's dangling legs, leaping back from its grasp, Alex remained on the rock, watching in terror as the sea creature made a number of attempts to reach him. When at last it gave up, it plunged beneath the sea, where it rose once more to shake its head and the mane till the water cascaded from all sides and then disappeared. Well, there you have it. I don't know what you think about that kind of stuff. I think, it's possible. I don't know. Again, we don't really know much about the ocean, so what does all that mean? I don't know. What kind of creatures could lurk under the oceans? And of course, reports from seafaring vessels in the 1800s and early 19th or 20th century certainly made statements of lots of strange things out in those waters in 17 and 1600s as well. Of course, giant squids were believed to be out there and many other fearsome things. So who knows? I mean, our ships have obviously gotten a lot bigger, so maybe they don't get approached like they used to when they were much more diminutive and possibly inviting for something that may want to feed. If you take a ship like any of Columbus's ships, by those standards of the day, they were huge. But by today's standards, they're almost a little bigger than what we consider a pleasure craft, just a little bit bigger, and that's about it. And, that's not really intimidating on a normal, maybe natural scale. But now you look at the ships we got out there, and they're huge. They're like, football field or more size vessels that are enormous. They're like cities on the water. And, what's going to approach that? Well, nothing. Because it doesn't look like prey. It looks like a bigger monster, I'm sure, to the natural world. So just some thoughts. I don't know. We don't get a lot of reports of sea monsters, of course. And this seems to have faded into antiquity for the most part. Like you really don't hear of reports coming in of, oh my God, we were on this cruise ship and we saw this huge, tentacles coming out of the water like they were coming towards the boat or anything like that. Could again be because of the size of the craft, and that's much more intimidating to these animals. But it could just be that maybe for whatever reason the days of those things are over. Maybe it's just some kind of natural selection that just wound itself out. Hard to say. Just some thoughts though. Brent, there are accounts of men on warships seeing a giant squid. Okay. I'd love to see those, Titan. If you have ever come across things, and this is to any of you out there that are listening to me, to the sound of my voice, if you ever come across paranormal articles or things that report about that stuff, please email them to me. Email me links, because that's fantastic. I'm literally one person and trying to, do the best I can to find a fantastic material to go over on these shows with you guys. But again, if you guys find stuff, by all means, put it on the Paranormal Portal fans page, email it to paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, any of the above, because I'd love to see more of that stuff. So any of you that want to do that, I'll look it up and send it. Thank you. Please do. And it doesn't have to be about sea monsters, about anything. If you find Dogman articles or Bigfoot articles or ghost articles or UFO articles that you'd like to see included on the show, that'd be really great. Let's go to the phone line, because we got a call here, and let's see what's going on. This is area code 585. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Jason Scargi. How are you?
Hey, Jason. Welcome to the show. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks for taking the call. We spoke a while back, and I had presented some information to you that I know that was unusual. It's been an unusual set of information, but I had mentioned, and it was about my satellite imagery research I had been doing over about 10 years as some weird hobby, because I'm not like a person conventionally intellectual. Remember that?
I do. I remember those images were really, really incredible. I think you're really onto something there, but yeah, go ahead.
So there was a couple questions I had, and I understand if it's not possible, at least right now. I was wondering if I have photographs, right, that I have on my cell phone, is it possible to send them to you in a way that you can look at them live before looking at them, but maybe sharing them with people listening?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly, if you email them to the Paranormal Portal Radio @gmail.com, I can sure look at them there.
While I'm talking to you, do you mind sharing them with me while I set up something to send you?
Oh, you mean right now?
I'm on my cell phone.
You mean right now? If you called me right now?
Yeah, if I send, so like I'll describe something, and and now it's at least something that I think this has been it's hard to explain, Brent. For the past, I was a pretty normal guy until about 10 years ago.
Okay. When
I came to a point in my life that I had tried real, like you're supposed to, right? I'm just a quirky, eccentric guy who did really good at stuff but couldn't make it in the real world. And the last time around, I was a wife cheating, all kinds of things that I'm just a guy who just doesn't expect things like that. I'm an optimist or something. I don't know.
Okay.
That all being said, when I got off the ride the last time, I took accountability as merited, maybe more. And then I said to myself, okay, you've run into some failures, you keep having these issues. This is where you're at having issues. What's up with the ride? So literally, I had some real spiritual experiences from age, I don't know, 5 till 16, like things that I would never mention, like you just wouldn't mention, because people would think you were insane if you said it. So, listen, like prior to now, right? Prior to the 8 years ago, that I somehow shut that like genetic set of things going on for me off.
Okay.
And then I got to the point where life came apart, got off the ride, took a look around, and I said, legitimately, and having had some success in prior prayer given legitimately as a kid, that can't be what it's all about. Like, got upset. So at the same time, I start a hobby that's so far afield from what I would do for a living, basically because I'm home alone all the time and I can't watch TV, listen to the news, or listen to experts who tell me things that are on ball. Regardless of side, it becomes all noise to me, right? You can't trust anybody, basically. So I decided to take the whole world differently, face value, approach it kind of like, I guess, when I was a kid. So believe me, I wasn't into the prayer type of stuff that I would have done as a kid. That had generated results until just recently, past 8 years. If I had understood what it meant, I would have considered the whole situation differently, because it'd be like if we were buddies, and believe me, I've been it's a long story of the dude I am, but the fact is, I have an issue because I don't know what to do when supernatural shit happens to you.
Oh, watch the language, please.
In the midst of a complicated. Oh, I'm sorry to swear. I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? When things happen that you just can't figure out and you're not accustomed to it, they're harder to decipher on face value anyways. You're looking around because things have fallen apart, and you start to look at it and say, wait a minute, am I missing something? You've asked God in a way that you go back to your childhood, and you start getting spiritual results, like stupid ones. So, and I'll give you an example. So I'm praying in the car. This was about a year ago, and I'll get to the intellectual side. You got a second?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, I don't want to miss anything.
Nope.
So I'm driving down the road, right, trying to pray about things, and I'm like having some weird things happen to me. Like for a full month prior, as I start paying attention to things spiritually, I got this bird following me to my back door of my house, and I got to trick it so he won't come in with me. Now, I got witness to it. Like, this is not common to me, right? You don't think this way. But now I'm looking at nature. I like walk out the back door, and I took it as if I was a child again, right? I had results then, like stupid results. I'll give you an example. When these things happen to you, the reason you almost, for me, I forgot what happened because it was dismissed so quickly because my family was totally in that generation. I was born in 1970. And by the time I was of age, they were really kind of getting more secular out of the church, right? I actually have events happening to me, and I had to go to church behind the church because I wanted to go, but I didn't really like going inside anyway. So, you know what I mean? But when I did, as examples go, I go behind this church one time and figure this, right? Like, I'm a pretty normal kid. I'm a pretty introverted normal kid, but whatever, dude, maybe eccentric, whatever, doesn't make me dumb or not a thinker. I'm out behind a church thinking, and I start praying, and the next thing I know, every tree around me is filled with crows. Like, I'm not talking 10 crows. I'm talking 1,000 crows.
Wow.
I start walking through the forest with them. Like, they're following me, I'm following them. It was crazy, right? Yeah. So I remembered that. Now, when you're having some of the new events, of which photos I can provide, some of the stuff that's happening now you can't see. So you can't take your camera and say, listen, let me point it this way and catch this thing.
Sure.
So I'll like talk to my family saying, I'll talk to people who have known me all my life and said, listen, you know me. I said, if you were to talk to anybody, if you think I had the time after this divorce and losing everything and all the rest of the things that have happened to me to play games in the midst of a COVID thing, right? You're like, this is not my deal. And anyone who's known me ever knows I'm going to tell people the truth. That might be my fault. Second, that I'm not politically correct necessarily. I'm just going to say what I think. And if someone disagrees, I'm good with it, right? As long as I'm not fucking them up. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. As long as I'm not screwing them up and they're not screwing me up, I'm good, right? So I'm pretty easygoing as all that goes. I really don't want to judge for anything, right?
Right.
But when I started paying attention, brother, I'm driving in my car one day. Now, I'm a kind of guy who, in the past, I ran the whole place. Like, the owners would answer to me in most cases in the business that I've been in the past 40 years, without exception. I wasn't asking for opinions, and I wasn't a mean person. But it was a good, you know what I mean? I'm a pretty pragmatic dude. Used to be that way, at least. So anyways, I am driving down the street in a car, and again, if we were buddies, we go to church one day, say, hey, let's check this out, right? And that day we go in, try praying, we come out, and the next thing you know, a miracle on cue, on request occurs in front of both of us. We'd be like, dude, where are you going next Sunday, right? Does it make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So I go to results because that's like business for me, right? If I'm getting results, I go back to my roots, obviously, when I needed to. So in this case, I do that. So I'm driving down the road, and I'm a dude who you could usually, I know that being, that panic or quick reaction can create, is an issue, you know, that fear is created in that moment. So you can blow off a bomb and things like that in my business world. And literally, even I've had you don't want to hear it, like a mechanic once dropped a propane tank and it was shot through a wall and people were scrambling. But
Thanks.
by being cool, you can contain the situation if you're running the place, right? So my point's simple. I'm praying because I've been getting results, not usually filmable. So for me to talk about it to you or anybody else wouldn't make sense.
Right.
All right. So in this particular case, as I'm driving down the car, now I like photography. I'm into art. I got all kinds of things that I've rekindled because I'm just past it now. I'm just like, there can't have been about those things. That it's more philosophical. But anyways, I'm driving down the road. I'm praying. And this time I sense something different's going to happen that I'll be able to capture. So I start filming the sky. Like, I take my phone out as I'm driving down the road. It's a pretty nondescript sky. Mm-hmm. And I click pictures straight through, like 45 seconds. And as it's going through, because first of all, I'm driving the car, I'm praying, then I get this inkling, like it's if I'm watching you and you're a buddy of mine, right? And you're backing up and there's a cliff and I can't get to you. You know that anxious feeling?
Yep.
So I get this anxious feeling. I get an indication that this is going to be different than usual. And it's not like you would know what that even means, right? Like that means nothing to me. Like I don't even know how you react if you know the fact that this is going to be different. So,
Jason,
like a pragmatic dude, I got my camera ready.
Okay. Can you hold
I
that?
start taking.
Jason, I need you
Oh,
to
yeah.
hold that thought because we got to take a break here and we're going to take the hour break and then we'll come back to you on the other side and we'll get to wrap this up, okay?
All right. I'm good.
I'll just put you on hold, so just stand by. We'll be right back with you.
Sure.
All right, folks, we're going to go to our hour break. Just give us a minute and we'll be right back with more of the Paranormal Portal.
Truth Frequency Radio is your number one.
Everybody likes to play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace the lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger boils inside me as their lies keep falling apart. But I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I'm not broken yet. I am finished with my silence. I am not a stupid boy. No more breaking me with kindness. Just you dance upon my joy. Leading me with empty promise. You're just another fucking guess. Taking off the slice of my sanity. Just make sure that you're well dressed.
not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that is different from themselves. Her life force. It is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Yes, they can, folks. Here, I just got a bunch of images. Let me get these saved, and we'll go over these quick with our caller. But I'm trying to get him open. I usually like to do this stuff prior to the shows. I'm going to let it go this time because this is a gentleman I've corresponded with several times in the past. But in the future, if you'd like anything shown on the show, please send it to me prior to show time because it's just too hard on the fly to do this kind of stuff. So let's see, where should I open it to? No. Yeah. This one. Okay. I think this will work. I hope. Yeah, this will work. Okay. All right, let's get back to our caller here. I think I want to get back to the first one. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get back to our caller here, and we'll see what he's got to say. All right, Jason, you're there. I know you said you were driving and praying, and you had this urge to start taking photos. Is that correct?
Right. So, and I apologize. I didn't mean to take you off guard with that. I would have accepted talking later. I really didn't mean to put you in a spot.
No, it's fine. We're good.
I really, you're very diplomatic, so I didn't mean to make it difficult.
All right.
Anyway, it's just been weird for me, brother. So anyways, so I'm at this level in my life.
Okay.
That I'm having weird things to the extent that generally when I drive, I don't take pictures of a nondescript sky. That this time I was like having this experience again, and I was like, as usual, if something happens that I can actually prove, because I don't want people, who I speak to and know me to say, hey, listen, who would say that, right? So I'm photoing it, and what you see is a sequence of the same sky over a period of about 35 seconds. So it wasn't like a static cloud formation. What's even more interesting is generally, although I'm interested in photography, I wouldn't take the pictures of a plain sky through a session unless I was going through this experience. You know what I mean? You just don't do it whilst driving, for that matter.
Okay.
And on a sky that's not really descript, and you'll see what happens. So as this hand and arm comes clear, it's not like something that was there. It literally happened on cue after praying, and it was an example of things that have happened since the intellectual project, which I sent some information, but I've got some more information because it's a period of 10 years in which I basically studied our planet using every single consumer channel and everything I could find out about satellite imagery for fun at first, and found something that collaborates directly in the spiritual results that are happening when I said, is this what it's all about? And I sent a second email to you to give you an example. It's like, if I can't catch a photo or something, I started to feel a little crazy. When I went back, because I had told my parents, listen, this is what happened. I was driving. I'm praying. I've got this intellectual project that makes no sense. It's outside my jurisdiction, not necessarily intellectually, just generally out of my field of study. I'm giving it way more than normal attention, and I found something that defies every probability that I've ever looked at across, centuries of questioning whether or not there's intellectual or extraterrestrial life that is intellectual.
Right.
And it's one thing to have that realization. It's a second that it would be a 10-year obsession.
Sure.
It's a third that it would be post the question to God. It'd be a fourth if I couldn't start photoing some of these things.
Yeah.
And after a while, you ask yourself, like, what do you do? And I mean that sincerely.
Sure.
Because I this is not like, there's no owner's manual to it.
Right.
But I can tell you one thing. I can send you a picture of T-Rex, but the head, nose to the back of the set head, is 4.7 miles long. It's only recently visible. It's collaborated across multiple channels, including the regression of the glacial ice. And I can tell you, that was one of hundreds and hundreds of systems. So it'd be like taking a look at your home from about 8 to an 11 mile up position.
Right. Jason, let me just reel you back just for a second, because we've kind of just breezed over these photos that you sent me. But to you, what does the arm and hand symbolize, or in what way was this representative?
So I'm doing some other weird shit. So I do what anyone would do. I YouTube it, right?
Okay,
so
please don't swear.
Because I apologize. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean it. I'll control it.
Thank you.
I YouTube things, and when I do, I'm literally, like, other things that are happening. Is that what you mean? Other
Well,
events?
I mean, so this is a very powerful moment for you. You had this epiphany, you had this prayer, you're in this moment, and you took the photos, and yeah, there's what appears to be a 3-fingered hand and arm that seems to manifest in the clouds. But what did this mean to you at that moment?
Oh yeah, what did it mean?
Yeah.
You know, at the time, I think it was saying, like, the prayer that I was saying was, because I had spent, so I realized something 5 years ago in the intellectual project before today, which is about 10 years into it. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, if that's the truth, then this is way different. Like, when I asked if life wasn't what I thought it was all about, I said, you can't. This is like an answer that makes no sense, because I was starting to go back. So for the past, 3.5 years, mm-hmm. I reviewed it because I didn't want to even suspect what I suspected, because it blew by any known comparative. There had been no precedent, right? Okay. And then, in my opinion, I come to some conclusions that may not be, there are other options, but again, I'm a probability guy. So as probabilities collapse, I have my strengths in conclusions as to what it means. But when you find something that massive, 5 years, I took another 3.5 years saying to myself, and going back through data, going back to the area, measuring miles apart, measuring probability of having structures that resemble life on Earth, epitomized at a level that you would have to be 8 to 11 miles above the planet at.
Sure.
As you get to the number 100 site that resembles it, and you realize that, yes, this isn't a Rembrandt painting, mm-hmm. but when you look at it, and I can send you some photos that really are stunning, because I last talked to you with some very old data and old technology. I've hence up my game. But anyway,
yeah,
it just becomes statistically impossible.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, what you've even the older stuff that you sent me, I found really compelling, and I think it's really fascinating. I don't know if I understand what the ramifications of it are. I think it's absolutely incredible and powerful, but I encourage you to continue to follow those breadcrumbs and see where it finds it. But we do have to wrap this up pretty quickly.
And if anyone has suggestions, I'll take messages, right? Because I'm just reaching out for some understanding. There's no, like I said, there's no owner's manual.
Right.
I'm in the process of resolving what I found. There's a guy who's been in like a movie production for like 30 years that's retired, but wants to do it for nothing. He's going to put a series together. Mm-hmm. It's just, the find feels too heavy to bear alone, right? And I'm a guy who will, although not academically credentialed and not somebody who's the guy who would go into the room with the people, if they took what I brought to the table seriously, mm-hmm. that would leave changing the perception of what could be possible. Because what I did find and why it's important to some extent is mm-hmm. two things. And I think you can listen and decide what these things mean to you. Because if I'm right, I come out of that office with those people. I didn't want to do that alone. If I'm right, I'm good, right? If I'm wrong, somebody's helping somebody who's obviously got some other issues. But in either event, if I'm correct, it does mean something significant, because what I found was under glacial ice for over 15,000 years in estimate. It endured it, and it represents life on Earth epitomized at a level and scale, and in some segregation via longitude and latitude that requires the person looking, like if you're real close to your front door, you don't even know it's a door. In this case, the similar scale and, of course, the geographic location of taking the species in some cases and separating them in terms of reptiles, it's not Rembrandt, but it endured glacial ice, and it was there, and you've got to be 5 to 12 miles above the planet
to see
even recognize any single one of these in frame.
Wow.
So the number of them blows by. It means something I can't. What could do that? It'd be like taking half your town, like 6 miles of it, making it cliffs, mountains, and everything else. And then in some cases, adding texture and color.
Right.
There's a section that defies. There's no logic to it. That, I think, is the problem. Now, absent the spiritual events, I might say, yeah, maybe still, you know what I mean? But there are other things for him. I don't even want to explain. It's not worth it, right? I can send you pictures. I can tell you the coordinates. I can get so deep on the science level. What I've sent you is only a fraction.
Yeah.
What it means, if I knew that, I think it means a lot of things. I think it means there's absolutely an intellectual, extraterrestrial situation that blows by. So if you know something that can mold your town into a full-size T-Rex head that's 4 miles across with white teeth and a black eye that looks actually inhuman, and it's in a mountain range, you never notice it or even think it looks like T-Rex unless you're screwing around like I've been in an area that's not your forte.
That's really,
I don't know what else to say.
Really incredible stuff, brother. Now, is there anywhere people can go check out this stuff online currently? Do you have it posted anywhere for people to review?
I'm not that. If I was, the first time I even opened Facebook was out of necessity, looking for information and listening to shows. This was not, other than being a kid and having things that I won't even discuss. I try to always talk about stuff I can prove. That's why I send photos. You know what I mean? I figured, if I'm going to tell you that I get a hand that comes, it's not, this isn't a static event and it's on cue. You can see I'm picturing a cloud formation that doesn't really mean anything. And for me to make that up, then I send you another picture, you'll see it. It gets convoluted. The next picture that I sent you is something that one day I walk out the back door of my house. This is another photable incident, because some aren't, you know what I mean? Some are spiritual. This one's a physical one. And it looks like I look up to my left in 4 miles. I live near Lake Ontario. There's about 4 miles away. I'm good with that stuff. Is something that looks like a propane. You know how you get those giant propane tanks next to a house?
Sure. Yep.
Like the ones that power the house.
Yep.
I'm sorry, dude. I did it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up too, brother. So
I apologize. I'll let you go. And I'm sorry for swearing. Brent, you get my picture. I'll send you more information. I just had a tough day today.
I hear you. I understand.
Because I don't know what to do about it.
I appreciate that, and I would like to see more of what you got and some of the newer stuff, especially. And if I can't do anything with it on the portal, I think I can help you find an outlet that would be more geared towards this and could appreciate it more than I could. I think it's fascinating and phenomenal.
That would be.
But I will stay. We'll stay in touch, brother. Okay.
Someone must have interest.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it so much. I won't bother you again, and I really do apologize for any indiscretions. I didn't mean it. It's a passionate situation. It's been a long day. You have no idea. It's not worth talking about.
Don't take it personally, brother. But don't take it personally. But it's
prompted. You know what I mean?
All right. Here's the last photo that you put up there, as well. So that's
the propane thing. That's on my iPhone, like as much as I can zoom it in, but it disappeared like a minute later.
Wow.
I went to I have a real cool camera. I went to go get it. Now, what's interesting, I can send you another set, because yesterday I take a picture, because I get a lot of these sun halo things with like rainbow effects that are really cool.
Yeah.
So I take a picture of the sun, because I've been doing that because I'm trying to get evidence. I get inside and I look at it with different filters. I use photography filters across the satellite filters, photos also. And I use the natural tendency of water to magnify things to come to some of the abilities that we got. But basically, I use kind of technology that most people would combine to kind of look at things differently. And in this case, I'm looking at the sun. It looks really cool because I can't look at it with my eyes. I've taken it with a phone. I'm looking at it. I turn it to black and white, and you can see like the sun streams coming out. And I'm like, that's really cool. I start zooming in on it. I don't know if I caught a satellite or it's my buddy, the same propane tank, but it sure looks the same, and it looks like it's real high up it. And I'll send you that. When you see that one, I don't know. Like I said, listen.
Okay.
I'm not saying A, B, C. I'm just trying to take the photos, and that way, hopefully, someone will believe the parts I can catch. Because
Right.
you can't. It's not like you can be prepared for it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And thank you for your call, brother. I appreciate you reaching out and for the journey.
I do too. I apologize again.
All right. No worries,
I didn't
brother.
mean anything. I apologize.
Yeah. No
Okay.
worries. Take care, brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very cool. All right. There you go, folks. That and I have to say his work is really pretty fascinating. He essentially he's found a bunch of satellite imagery and has corresponded like parts of countries that look like they were sculpted, and it's really fascinating when you zoom in on it and when you start looking at it and breaking it apart and taking it, taking a sincere look at what he's saying. It is fascinating. I think that stuff, I don't know enough about it, and I don't really have, I don't know what to do with it, I guess is my problem. It's like, what does it mean? I don't know. Is it some extraterrestrials that are sculpting the planet as they go or not? I don't know. But at any rate, thank you for calling in and taking the time. So let's continue on our journey as we go through the portal here. And we're going to get into some UFO stuff now. And this is an article, I think I got time for this. We got about 9 minutes before the break. This is an article from CBSNews.com. And its former Navy pilot says flight crews observed UFOs off Atlantic coast every day for at least a couple of years. Now that's fascinating. And this article was when? May 14th, 2021. So it's really quite new. It says next month, the government report is expected to make public on sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena, better known as UFOs. And then they talk about the Sunday on 60 Minutes. Bill Whitaker reports on the sightings. And there's a video accompanying this. Again, just go to CBSNews.com. I can put links in the chats for you guys if you want to check it out. But it says, former Navy Lieutenant Ryan Graves says that he and other members of his FA-18 fighter squadron detected strange maneuverable and unidentified objects flying in the restricted airspace southeast of Virginia Beach nearly every day for 2 years beginning in 2015. The sightings were so common, he says, pilots and their crews began to take them for granted. Graves is calling those objects a threat to security in a 60 Minutes interview. Graves is one of several current and former military members who have spoken publicly about what the Pentagon now calls unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAP. These documented sightings of UAP recorded on gun camera video or photos taken by U.S. service members have been analyzed by the Defense Department for years, but the government only grudgingly acknowledged the internal efforts after unclassified videos of UAP were leaked to the New York Times in 2017. Now the Senate Intelligence Committee has ordered the Director of National Intelligence and the Secretary of Defense to compile a report on unidentified aerial phenomena to be delivered next month. I'm worried, frankly, that these are tactical jets from another country that we're hanging out up there, but that it would be a massive issue, Graves tells Bill Whitaker in an interview airing Sunday on 60 Minutes, because it looks slightly different. We're not willing to actually look at the problem in the face. We're happy to just ignore the fact that these are out there watching us every day. Graves says pilots who have seen UAP speculate that they could be secret U.S. technology, an enemy spy platform, or something else entirely. Watching one of the unclassified videos, he says, this is a difficult one to explain. You have rotation, you have high altitudes, you have propulsion, right? I don't know. I don't know what it is, frankly. And I would say, the highest probability is it's a threat observation program, Graves says. He wouldn't rule out the possibility they could be Russian or Chinese technology. Luis Elizondo, a former DOD official, he comes up everywhere, who investigated UAP for nearly a decade, says these vehicles display technology far superior to anything in the nation's inventory. Imagine a technology that can do 600 to 700 G forces, that can fly 13 miles an hour, and that can evade radar and even fly through air and water and possibly space. Oh, and by the way, has no obvious signs of propulsion. No wings, no control surfaces, and yet can still defy natural effects of gravity. That's precisely what we're seeing. Senator Marco Rubio, Florida, has seen classified briefings on UAP and called for a detailed analysis of the unidentified aerial phenomena. Last December, while still head of the Senate's Intelligence Committee, he asked the Director of National Intelligence and the Pentagon to present Congress with an unclassified report by June 2021. Then this aired apparently on the 16th, which is tomorrow. So I guess you can check this out on CBS in more details. But I think it's very interesting. Again, I'm cautiously optimistic about this whole forthcoming report. I think there's the potential that some new and exciting information could be out there, but there's also the potential that it's just going to be a fluff piece of some kind, and any real meat and potatoes is going to be filed away under the heading of it may jeopardize the security of the U.S., or something else that they do in order to evade any real disclosure. But we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. It's just, it's an exciting time, right? I think, again, it seems like UFO observations, people seeing things, seems to be on an increase. It seems like there's more and more reports coming in all the time. Seems like more and more people are looking up at the skies than ever before. And I don't know if that's really the case or not, but at least they're seeing things that they don't know how to, what to do with it. It's like, God, that's not a satellite. They don't change directions. Oh, that's moving way too fast, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of exciting things on the cusp of coming out and letting us know what the hell's really going on, or at least giving us a more detailed glimpse of it, as the case may be. I don't know. I know what I've seen. And I have no doubt that there are craft, vehicles, mechanizations that are beyond our scope of potential. I believe, not potential, but beyond our scope of achievement currently. The craft that I saw was amazing. But it was also not visible with the naked eye. It was only visible under the night vision binoculars, and that was kind of terrifying at the same time. Not in a horrible way, but it was just like, oh my God, they could be above your house and you wouldn't know it. And oftentimes I wonder if that's what happens, because in the UFO reports, we're watching it and suddenly it's just boom, it was gone. Like it took off at unbelievable speed. And maybe it did, or maybe it just hit a button and could hide, And I don't understand what that technology would be. What technology could it be that they could just hide like that? But then again, as I said before, and as has been postulated before many times by people like Michio Kaku, he said, these are beings that could be tens, hundreds, or thousands, or millions of years and more advanced to us. And that's absolutely incredible. So there you have it. That was our first article into the UFO phenomenon. We're going to come back from break, and I have to decide which angle we're going to go. I think we're going to come back and just hit the Bigfoot, and then we'll dive into some black-eyed kids. But we got two Bigfoot articles coming from animalien.com, and then we're going to go into maybe the black-eyed kids or the Brent Swanser article. I don't know how long this Brent Swanser one is. Let me just scan it here quick. Yeah, it's a pretty big article. That would be a whole half hour itself. So I guess we'll go into the black-eyed kids if we get through the Bigfoot stuff in good time. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's lots more Portal coming up. And as I said before, remember, after the show, if you're listening on TFR, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, Paisley Wild's The Spaces Between is coming up next. And she does a great show, a great time. She's a wonderful person, a dear personal friend. So definitely check it out. and she also streams live as well. She does her live stream on her YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/thespacesbetween. So you can check it out in video or just kick back and listen through the audio on TFR Live. That's perfectly wonderful either way. And you can chat along in either place as well, just like we do here. So all of that's coming up yet, and so much more, as always. But we're going to take our break here in just a few moments. So, again, the number to call in, if any other people want to call in, 720-923-0500. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. If you've got something paranormal of your own you'd like to share, that'd be wonderful. Love hearing from you guys, as always. So we're going to go to break here in just a second. There's the bell. I heard it. All right, don't go away. Hey everybody, welcome back. This is our last half hour of the show. It's gone pretty quickly, all things considered. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you to so many of you that have donated in the YouTube chat. That's really cool. I didn't catch all that did, and I'm sorry for that. I'm just scrolling up. I see MCAT. Thank you very much. I see Taco did it. I see Nessie. Thank you guys so much. And I see Nessie again. My God. And Taco again, and Taco again, and you guys are crazy. Thank you so much. That's wonderful. Again, it's not expected, but it sure is appreciated. Thank you so much. And, please know that, while we love donations, there's so many ways to help support the show, and certainly financial is one way, but one of the biggest ways is just to be here and to be clicking those likes and to recommend the show to people that that may enjoy it. That really helps out a ton. We're always into making the portal a bigger show than what it is, and your efforts on our behalf certainly help a bunch. So we appreciate that to all of you who have already recommended the shows. And remember, the Paranormal Portal is also a podcast. So if you are a podcast listener, then look for us out there. In the podcast verse, we're on Pandora, iHeart, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live. No, we're not. Not tuned in. We're on iHeart, not TuneIn and TalkStream Live. It gets automatic because I say it all the time. Because after I say iHeart, it's always TuneIn and TalkStream Live. So it's Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, Google Play, Stitcher. God, there's so many of them. Many, many platforms. I think we're on all of them, but maybe not quite all. At any rate, you can check it out if you're interested. Interesting story from wild men to gorillas to Bigfoot to Sasquatch and other names. Very cool. If you find an interesting story, Rachel, by all means, email it to me. I'd love to see it. I love all that stuff. So we are going to get into some more of this paranormal weirdness. We're going to start with some Bigfoot stuff. And this is an article from animalien.com. I find this interesting because I think, I'll tell you what I think in just a couple minutes. And in fact, my older brother may be out there listening right now. And so this story actually kind of pertains to him. I've told it on the show before, but I don't know if he was listening back then. But anyway, the article in question is from animalien.com. It's a great site, by the way. Check it out if you can. Any of the sites that we feature on the show, please help support those. Visit them, check them out. But why don't hunters see Bigfoot? A common criticism consistent with Bigfoot skeptics is that if there are Bigfoot creatures living in the forest, why is it that hunters don't see them and shoot them? Why don't hunters see Bigfoot? The visual Bigfoot reports suggest that the question itself is not true. Sportsmen do see Bigfoot. Hunters tracking game animals accidentally stumble across Bigfoot in the forest quite often. It says it happens almost every hunting season in every state where Bigfoot is believed to reside. Somewhere around 2 in every 10 actual Bigfoot sightings are from a sportsman. Every year, a large amount of consistent Bigfoot sightings come from creditable hunters, fishermen, and other outdoor sportsmen all over the United States. That's really interesting. That's a great factoid. I did not know that. Excellent work, guys. Answering the first part of the question gives Bigfoot skeptics what they believe is more validity for the claim that there is no Bigfoot. If so many hunters see Bigfoot, why is it that none of them have bothered to shoot one? It's a good question, and there are good answers. When the hunters who have seen Bigfoot are asked that question, their answers are almost always the same. It looked too human-like to shoot. Hunters are trained not to shoot at anything that looks like it could be another human being. It's really this simple. If it's walking on 2 legs, hunters won't shoot it. Some hunters have also said they didn't want to take the chance at shooting because it could have been someone walking around in a costume. While not completely impossible, it would be an extremely dangerous prank for someone to put on a fursuit and strut around the forest during hunting season. Yeah, that would be like on the top of the stupid pile for sure. I mean, you just got to want to be a corpse for that to happen. Hunters go into the forest looking for specific game animals to kill, like deer, rabbit, wild turkey, etc. They do not go into the forest deliberately looking for Bigfoot. When a hunter comes upon a Bigfoot, they almost immediately go into shock. They are expecting to see a deer bouncing through the forest, and instead they are confronted by an enormous 7 to 8 foot tall, 300 to 600 pound creature, the likes of which they have never seen before. Almost all hunters said that if threatened by a Bigfoot, they would defend themselves. However, hunters never have to resort to self-defense. When confronted, the Bigfoot always seems to be just as shocked as the hunter. Their first reaction is to turn tail and head steadily in the opposite direction. A Bigfoot creature usually doesn't waste any time fleeing the scene. That's why most sightings don't last for more than 15 to 30 seconds. Hunters never attempt to follow the Bigfoot deeper into the forest. Fear and shock usually forces the hunter to do the natural thing, which is to get out of the forest as fast as possible. There have been hunters treated at local hospitals for severe trauma-related symptoms after reporting face-to-face encounter with a Bigfoot. A few hunters have said that they were tempted to take a shot at Bigfoot, but after examining the situation decided not to because of the creature's incredible size and muscular shape. They thought that the simple hunting rifles that they were using would not be enough to bring down the massive creature, and they feared that if threatened, the Bigfoot might turn and attack the hunter. Before someone asks why hunters don't equip themselves with high-powered guns and go off into the forest to blast a Bigfoot, it must be pointed out that it's illegal to carry firearms in a U.S. forest beyond a certain caliber. Caliber varies from state to state. If you're caught with an illegal firearm, you will be looking at some serious fines and jail time, possibly felony charges, weapon charges, and also shooting a Bigfoot anywhere in the United States is considered poaching, another crime that carries serious penalties. The vast majority of hunters obey all the federal and state hunting laws. It's also a common misconception that hunting dogs or bloodhounds should be able to track down a Bigfoot, as most hunters already know that these hunting dogs are taught from birth to only pursue a certain animal's scent and to ignore all other scents. Bloodhounds can track human beings using scent, but again, these dogs have been trained to track human beings. You just can't tell a dog to find a Bigfoot and expect that dog to run off in the forest and return with a Bigfoot in their mouth. That's funny. Whether you believe in Bigfoot or not, it cannot be said that hunters don't experience Bigfoot sightings. Outdoor sportsmen make up a large majority of the eyewitness reports. And during certain times of the year, both hunters and Bigfoot share the forests. It's not coincidence that eventually, by accident, these two would meet. And when you're hunting in the forest, keep an eye out for the giants. Yeah, amen. I would say that, with in the case of the dogs too, there seems to be like some kind of recognition in dogs to be afraid of these creatures. And I don't know if that's from some genetic memory that's in their genome. It's like, ooh, that's the trigger, stay away from that one. Or if it's just that there's a possibly an infrasound issue or some other issue that they catch, a pheromone thing or whatever. But in many cases, including aggressive guard dogs, there was one report where a guy had these really aggressive guard dogs. I think there were two Rottweilers, and they would bark and go after everything, and they were just notorious. But the guy believed that he was being stalked by a Bigfoot around his house, and he said suddenly his dogs would be found under the bed trembling, and they weren't even outside; they were just under the bed trembling. Or it's like, wow. So they just knew that that's what that sound was, and I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. I don't know. But there's many cases of Bigfoot also killing dogs. I think it must be that they don't like that the dogs alarm at their presence. That's like an early warning system. You got to take out the alarm. So the famous phone call that features the guy that Wes uses on the beginning of Sasquatch Chronicles, talking about, well, I don't know, it's 6'9". I don't know, the thing is huge. You look, do you see him now? Yeah, I'm looking right at him. Apparently that guy, and I'm paraphrasing this and maybe even brutalizing it, but his dog was just killed the day before. I believe he had a German Shepherd, and he saw it like lobbed over his fence, and its body hit the ground or something to that effect. I don't remember the specifics of it, but his dog was killed like the day before, and it was a German Shepherd, and he had seen possibly that this thing was around then. Just a terrifying, totally encounter. But the guy was, if you've heard that call, and it's available on YouTube, you can look it up and hear the whole call. I mean, that guy's obviously he's not happy. He's definitely uncomfortable enough that he's calling the police. It's like he wants help. And I can't blame him. Now there's speculation that he didn't know what he was looking at, and I think what I heard is that he did know, he just didn't want to say it. He didn't want to say what he was seeing exactly because he didn't want to be discarded. Like he knew that they would hear Bigfoot and just go, oh, okay, it's one of those, So he just kind of acted like, no, it's a man or something. He's just really huge, So I think that's a pretty amazing encounter story. So that's the article from Animalian. The first one, and that was really, really well done. The story that I was going to share has to do with my oldest brother, who is he's kind of been an avid deer hunter for quite a while, and he told me a story once. And at the time, this brother is, he's never been one to believe in all the stuff that I believe in, but I think he at least entertains the ideas. But I never had the heart to tell him my idea about this one. But there was a time that he was out hunting deer, and he was doing it in a not really desolate woodland place. I mean, it wasn't like it was out in the middle of nowhere. It was just a woodland area that it was pretty good cover or whatever. But he was hunting, and I guess he saw a big, good sized buck, and I think he was either bow hunting or gun hunting. I don't remember which, but in either case, he shot it, and he got a good shot because he said it was really bleeding out good, and so it ran off. And so he went, and his buddy who was hunting with him in the area came over, and they together went to follow the blood trail. And so they followed the blood trail through the forest and got to a point where the blood trail just stopped. And he said it should have been there. He said there's no way it had anything left. It had to have been done. And he said he was absolutely perplexed that it wasn't sitting at the end of that blood trail. It was just gone. And there was no drag marks. There was no gut pile like somebody else found it and dressed it out and dragged it out. It was just gone. And he's like, I have no idea what happened. And they did a real thorough search around where that blood trail ended and couldn't make heads or tails of what happened to this animal. And it occurred to me that, in many reports that come in about the Bigfoot, is that it can be from, that they like hunting season. They like it because it takes all the legwork out for them. They can probably recover kills faster than the hunters can, and stride off into the wilderness with breakfast, lunch, and dinner in one shot. So is that possible? I don't know. It's speculation, of course. Nobody saw a Bigfoot grab the thing, but how do you explain it just disappearing? And it wasn't like it was dragged off by anything else. So it wasn't dragged off by a hunter because they would have dressed it and then taken it out. And it wasn't dragged off by animals because there was no sign of anything. It was just gone. So I think he might have had a close call, or he might have been being watched and they saw it go and thought, I can get to there before he can. Just speculation, wild speculation, but you never know. There are claims of this happening, coming in here and there anyway. Oh my God. Hold on. Just had an itchy cough, folks, but I go better. All right, so let's go into another one here, and this is, so I'm going to save that Brent Swanson article for another show, but the next one we're going to read is coming from animalien.com, and this is having to do with what is the lineage of Bigfoot. Sorry, I'm just had an itchy cough. And I ran out of water, so I'm stuck with it. All right. Is Bigfoot an ancient hominid? Let's see. Countless numbers of researchers have devoted years of their lives trying to discover the true identity of Bigfoot. So far, they have been unsuccessful. Bigfoot has been identified as many things, including a hoax, shapeshifter, unknown species of primate or extinct prehistoric ape, and an alien. A new theory, and one that has considerable merit, identifies Bigfoot as a once-thought extinct hominid known as Paranthropus. Paranthropus was a bipedal hominid that appeared about 2.5 million years ago. They existed at about the same time as Australopithecus and are suspected to be an offshoot of this line and as such, share many of the same traits with this species, such as being bipedal and being entirely covered with hair. Although sharing many traits, there were also major differences between the two species. Australopithecus stood at roughly 3 feet tall, whereas Paranthropus was thought to have been closer to 5 feet in height, and this would have made it a giant in its time. Paranthropus had a more robust skull, larger back teeth, and a flatter face, and a more muscular physique. And there is an image included with this. I will include the link in the chat over on TFR for anybody that might want to check it out there, like bam. All right, here it is. All right, there you go. And Paranthropus also appears to have possessed a sizable sagittal crest. The large teeth combined with the large sagittal crest would have made it possible to eat very tough roots, tubers, as well as a wide variety of plant foods. In contrast, the Australopithecus, who preferred open grasslands, in contrast to the Australopithecus, who preferred open grasslands, the Paranthropus appears to have preferred dwelling in the forested regions. The Australopithecus went on to evolve into modern man, whereas the Paranthropus is thought to have become extinct about 1 million years ago. This theory of extinction is now in question. Why the Paranthropus and Bigfoot are physically alike? One of the first facts that we need to take into consideration is the walking style of the Bigfoot. The Patterson-Gimlin film of 1967 is considered to be the best piece of evidence to date of the existence of Bigfoot. Patterson died of cancer in 1972 and maintained right to the end that the creature on the film was real. Patterson's friend Gimlin has always denied being involved in any part of a hoax with Patterson, and I believe Bob completely. In this film, Bigfoot can be seen walking with a definitive wobble or swivel movement of the leg. Below this is the stabilized version of the video, and you can certainly look that up online if you'd like. But in a documentary titled Sasquatch Meets Science, the gait of the specimen in the Patterson-Gimlin's film was analyzed with computer software. The analysis showed an inward wobble with each step. The wobble is not a homogeneous trait, but a 2006 study of the Paranthropus came to the conclusion that it indeed did have a wobbled gait. This particular trait did not exist in any bipedal species before Paranthropus, and does not exist with any species after the Paranthropus. And while we're on the subject of walking style, let us examine the mode of locomotion of the Bigfoot. While the Bigfoot is mainly observed walking on 2 legs, there have been instances where it has been seen walking on 4 legs. Yeah, that's true. That's many reports of them being quadrupedal as well. And even spider-like, which has got to be creepy as hell to see. The Paranthropus australopithecines and the Homo habilis genus all had longer arms in comparison to leg length, and this trait made it possible to maneuver on all 4s as well as 2. Arm length in proportion to leg length did not appear until the Homo erectus species. While this trait is by no means conclusive, it does show a relationship between Bigfoot and Paranthropus. The actual construction of Bigfoot's foot is very close to the construction of the Paranthropus foot, according to paleontologist Dr. Jeff Meldrum. Alleged tracks of the Bigfoot do not show a longitudinal arch in their feet, which causes a curvature to the middle and the end of the foot. Bigfoot must have a high degree of midfoot flexibility to compensate for this, and this foot construction is consistent with the Paranthropus and Australopithecus genes. All right, the longitudinal arch did not develop until the genus Homo habilis. One of the most consistent facts about all Bigfoot sightings is the degree of hairiness. Bigfoot is always described as being completely covered with hair. Paranthropus, as well as all hominids predating it, were also covered in hair. The hairlessness of later species did not develop until the arrival of the Homo habilis and the development of persistent hunting. The skull of the Paranthropus demonstrates that it had many facial features consistent with the Bigfoot. Bigfoot is usually reported having a flat face, and a somewhat conical shaped head. The skull of the Paranthropus shows a massive sagittal crest. Later species of hominids do not have this. A sagittal crest is a bony ridge running lengthwise across the middle of the skull. The sagittal crest indicates the presence of a very strong jaw muscles. Also, having the presence of a pronounced sagittal crest would give the appearance of having a cone-shaped head. The skull of the Paranthropus also shows a thick bony ridge over the eyes, commonly known as the brow ridge. The conical-shaped head and the heavy brow ridge are both traits consistent with the face of Bigfoot. That's true. Paranthropus and Bigfoot had a similar culture. Oh. The term material culture refers to the ability to create and use tools, the ability to use fire, and the ability to construct shelters. It is one of the main indicators of human progression. Homo habilis and Homo erectus made use of all of these, although there is some evidence to suggest that Paranthropus may have used very crude stone tools. Overall, it did not make use of any material culture and lived much the same way as Bigfoot now lives. Although the true identity of Bigfoot is still unknown, as a seasoned researcher, I feel that the most valid candidate for its identity is the Paranthropus. This is a great article. I'd never even heard of Paranthropus before. And excellent job from Animalian on that. Wow. That's awesome. I mean, with all of those similarities, it's neat to find at least that many correlations. So the size came somewhere later, apparently, as it was its ancestors, if they are indeed Paranthropus, were only 5 feet tall. So now it's doubled. But what caused that? I don't know. Maybe the need to migrate across the globe. Maybe that caused some kind of gigantism because they had long tracks to make. I don't know. Just theories, of course, ladies and gentlemen. I can't say for sure, but that's very interesting. I really am really thrilled with that article. That's fascinating. So Paranthropus, folks, I never have heard that before. It's always Gigantopithecus, Australopithecus, and, those are the big ones. But, this is a much more zoomed in look at where its ancestors could be. And if it is indeed out there, and I think, most of us would agree it is, listening to the show, at least a majority of us. But, it's up to you to believe what you like. I'm just putting it out there. So we are down to about the 2-minute mark. I guess that doesn't leave us much time for much more, unfortunately. I think that of all of the species on this planet, and this is something I've said many times, but the one that I think really wears the crown for being the most adaptable, including more than us, is definitely the Bigfoot. Like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Every continent has its version of a Bigfoot. And maybe they're not directly the same thing. Maybe they're really not. But the interesting thing is that wherever it's found, and it's found in really diverse habitats, and, it seems to thrive. It doesn't just survive, it thrives. So wherever they're found, they seem to do just fantastic. I think that is absolutely fascinating. Sissy says, yeah, I love the big guy. I think that's cool. I'm sure he loves you too. The Bigfoot loves you too, Sissy. But, it's all speculation, of course, because as we know, okay, here we go. You think the government is working to make them go extinct. Lots of stories of government being involved. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to think of some of these stories, because some of them just sound absolutely, Tom Clancy kind of stuff. It's like, really, all that stuff happened. And maybe it did. I don't know. There's some reports that I would take credibly. I mean, Dean Harrison was on the show, and he told us that he, helped some military groups in Australia, with their quest to look for them. And I believe that. I believe that wholeheartedly. But there's there's some narratives, there's some narratives out there that are just so fantastical. And they deal with this huge body count, and we dropped a bunch of them, and then this 14-foot giant came out of the trees and was throwing rocks at us, and we were pinned down, and they just do this whole incredible narrative of this exorbitant battles that are going on. And then there's others that are much more succinct. Now, do I think Bigfoot would fare well against an armed group coming in? I don't know. I think that they are truly the ninjas of the forest, but there could be true. There could be an active. I don't know if they're actively trying to make them go extinct or if there's another agenda at work. I have a sneaking suspicion it's another agenda, but I don't want to get into conspiracies. But there does seem to be government's recognition and understanding of these things. There's been many reports of them recovering bodies, both in forest fires and otherwise. But anyway, it's up to you to believe what you want. I'm sorry we didn't get to the black-eyed kids stuff tonight, but I'll be back tomorrow night with the night terrors. So love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. Take care, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.